Hello, traders. Welcome to our video where we'll be diving into the functionalities and benefits of our economic calendar news events indicator. Stay ahead of the game by keeping up to date with economic news releases, as they have the power to cause significant price fluctuations in the market. While one can access the news release schedule from various websites, this approach requires the trader to remember the announcement times, and as we all know, it's easier said than done. Instead, streamline your trading process by integrating the schedule directly onto your trading chart. This effortless and consistent approach will enhance your trading precision and efficiency. If you trade a funded account that has trading restrictions around news events, this indicator will greatly help you comply with those rules. So let's explore the features of this indicator. By default, high-impact news events are highlighted in red, medium-impact events in yellow, and the low-impact events in green. You have the flexibility to personalize these colors, as demonstrated later in the video. By clicking on the news dot, you can easily access a description of the scheduled news for that time, allowing you to verify the upcoming events. The vertical band serves as an early notification for approaching news events, and you can adjust the timing for how much time before and after the news events you want this band to be displayed. As we can see, the upcoming news events are visible on the chart's right margin. Having the news event's time reference in this right margin area provides a clearer view, making it easier to anticipate potential price movements. The indicator has an option to show on your chart all news events that occurred before the current week. The option is called Historic News Events, and it is currently active on this chart. This feature empowers you to refine your trading strategy by leveraging insights from historical news events directly on your chart. As we scroll back in time, we'll notice how price fluctuates in response to different news events, with more significant movements accompanying major announcements. By clicking on the news dot, you can uncover detailed information about these events. Engaging in this manual backtesting not only deepens your market understanding, but also significantly enhances your decision-making process in trading. You can also integrate this indicator with NinjaTrader's Strategy Builder, or use it in conjunction with Bloodhound from Shark Indicators for enhanced trading automation. Having seen the value of displaying news events directly on your chart, let's now explore the available parameters. To add the indicator to your chart, right-click on the chart and select Indicators, or simply click on the indicator icon located on the chart title bar. This will open the indicator's window listing all available indicators. In the Available section, you will find the indicator under the Ascendo folder, listed as Economic Calendar News Events. You can either double-click on the indicator name or click the Add button at the bottom of the Configured section to add the indicator to the Configured section. We will now explore the available parameters available under the Properties section. The first parameter, News Event Source, allows you to choose the source of the news events. You can select either Forex Factory or My FX Book. With Forex Factory, updating news events is fully automated. However, if you choose My FX Book, you will need to manually save the news files for the indicator to access them. In the video description, you'll find a link to our page that explains how to download news from My FX Book. The next parameter, called Show Historic News Events, is not active by default. You can activate it to show the news events that occurred before this week. We call them Historic News Events. With Forex Factory selected as the news source, you'll have access to historical news events dating back to 2007. When the Show Historic News Events parameter is active, you'll see a related setting called Allow Strategies to Use Historic News Events. For regular chart use, we recommend keeping this setting turned off to ensure faster loading times. However, if you are using the indicator as part of a strategy that you plan to backtest, activating this setting is crucial. It enables the indicator to analyze news events for each historical bar and output the values for strategy use. This option was created because processing and outputting these values for a strategy requires additional CPU resources. By keeping this setting inactive on regular charts, you can enjoy quicker loading times. For now, we will jump to the next sections and come back later to cover the remaining parameters from the General section. As mentioned in the introduction, you can select which news impact level you want to see on your chart. As we can see lower, each news impact level has its own parameter section. By default, all news impact levels are active and therefore visible on the chart. However, if, for example, you don't want to see the high-impact news, move to the high-impact events section and deactivate the parameter called Show High-Impact News Events. We will click the OK button to apply the change we made and close this properties window. As you can see, the high-impact news are no longer visible. We will go back to the indicator properties window to explore the other parameters available. If you want to change the color of the news events, you can do so from the Highlight Area Color parameter. We will set it to blue for demonstration purposes. You can also adjust the color opacity to your liking. By default, it is set to 5% to allow the vertical bands to fade into the chart background and keep the chart clean. You can customize the duration for which the vertical shaded bands appear around a news event on your chart. By default, this band is set to appear 300 seconds or 5 minutes before and after the actual news event. Let's change this setting to 60 seconds before the medium impact news. If you prefer the narrowest possible vertical band, you can set both the before and after parameters duration to 0 second, as we will demonstrate for high-impact news events. As shown on the chart, the medium impact news events are now highlighted in blue and are shaded for just 1 minute before the actual news event time. On this 1-minute chart, that corresponds to a single candle to the left of the actual news event time. The shading duration after the news event remains unchanged at 5 minutes. For high-impact news events, the vertical band shading is now limited to the time of the news event itself. The shaded band could be helpful for manual backtesting to see the impact after some specific events, allowing you to analyze how different types of news affect price movements. By observing these shaded areas, you can identify patterns or trends that typically occur after certain news releases. This insight can be invaluable for developing strategies that capitalize on the volatility or predictability introduced by news events. To make it easier to follow, we will quickly reset all properties to their default values, changing the color of medium impact news events from blue back to orange. When used in a strategy, please note that the indicator outputs a specific value to each news impact level to reflect the status of news events. For each impact level, the output value is 0 when no news events are active. This value changes to 1 when a news event of that particular impact level occurs. A news event is considered active from the time specified by seconds before the event to highlight until the time specified by seconds after the event to highlight. During this period or inside the shaded band, the output value remains at 1, indicating a news event is active. After this period or outside the shaded band, the value reverts back to 0. This functionality allows you to manage trades based on news events within your strategies by monitoring when the strategy output turns to 1 inside the shaded band. We will go back to the indicator properties window to explore the other available parameters. In the lower part of the properties window, you will find a section labeled All-Day Events. An all-day event could be a holiday or some special meetings. For example, if we examine the Euro currency futures, contract 6E, and scroll back to May 1st, we can observe one of these all-day events represented by a horizontal bar. By clicking on this all-day event bar, we can see that it was a bank holiday in France, Germany, and Italy. Now that we've explored several key properties, let's discuss an important aspect you need to know. By default, all news events originating from the same country as the instrument's currency will appear on your chart. To find the instrument's currency, you navigate to the NinjaTrader Control Center window. Then you click on Tools in the menu bar and then select Instruments. We will locate the ES instrument and click on Edit to view its properties. Here, we see that the currency for the ES instrument's currency is the US dollar. Next, let's check the currency of the BMW stock traded on the German exchange. We can see its currency is the euro, which means all euro news will automatically appear on the BMW chart. The indicator includes a parameter titled Show Events for these countries, found under the General section. This feature allows you to specify from which countries the news events should be visible for each instrument. As we can see, this parameter is pre-configured by default for currency futures contracts. While the instrument currency for all currency contracts is the US dollar, it is also practical to view news from the respective contract's country. For instance, in the case of the Australian dollar futures contract 6A, even though the instrument currency is the US dollar, it is beneficial to also view news from Australia. Therefore, the indicator's default settings are specifically configured for that. If you want to view news from additional or different countries for specific instruments, you will need to edit this parameter using a particular syntax. Let's go through an example where we want to view news from the United States and Canada for the ES and MES contracts. We need to enclose each pair of instruments and countries within brackets. Then we start with the applicable instruments inside the brackets separated by commas. For our example, we will type ES, comma, MES. Next, we open a pair of curly braces to enclose the applicable countries, also separated by commas. For our example, inside the curly braces, we will type USD, comma, CAD. Please note the keyword all can be used as a substitute for specifying an instrument name. When all is used, the rule becomes applicable to all instruments. The keyword all can also be used inside the curly braces as a substitute for specifying countries. When all is used, the rule becomes applicable to all countries. Now, let's load the ES chart to confirm that we can indeed see the news events from the United States and Canada. Here we go, we now have the news from Canada, as evidenced by the Bank of Canada announcement at 4:15. Additionally, news from the United States are still visible, as seen with the FOMC press conference at 2:30. As you can see, it's easy to customize which country's news you want to see for each instrument. We will return to the Indicator Properties window to explore additional parameters that allow you to further customize the news displayed on your chart. The next parameter, Hide Events for these countries, functions as the counterpart to the previously discussed Show Events for these countries. This parameter allows you to exclude news from specific countries for selected instruments. The syntax to use is the same. When you configure rules in both Show Events for these countries and Hide Events for these countries, an additional parameter, Countries Show, Hide Order, becomes available. This parameter lets you determine the sequence in which these rules are applied. You can select either Show First, Hide After, or Hide First, Show After. For example, if you set a rule for the ES contract to show news events from Canada and another rule to hide them, the sequence you choose will affect the outcome. Selecting Show First, Hide After will result in no news from Canada being displayed on the ES chart. However, choosing Hide First, Show After will make the Canadian news events visible on the ES chart. The next parameter, called Show Events for these titles, enables you to specify which news event titles should be visible for each instrument. Similar to the country's filter, this parameter has a counterpart designed to exclude specific news event titles. The syntax for this parameter is identical to that used in the country's filter, except we replace the list of countries by a list of titles. For example, to view all news with titles containing either Bank of Canada or CPI month over month for the ES and MES contracts, we will use the following syntax. We need to enclose each pair of instruments and titles within brackets. Then we start with the applicable instruments inside the brackets, separated by commas. For our example, we will type ES, comma, MES. Next, we open a pair of curly braces to enclose the applicable titles, also separated by commas. For our example, inside the curly braces, we will type BOC, comma, CPI-M, /M. Please note the keyword all can be used as a substitute for specifying an instrument name. When all is used, the rule becomes applicable to all instruments. The keyword all can also be used inside the curly braces as a substitute for specifying titles. When all is used, the rule becomes applicable to all news event titles. It's important to understand that the news title rule is applied after considering the news country of origin or the instrument's currency. For example, with the rule we just set, any news titles containing Bank of Canada will not be visible if Canadian news is not active. Therefore, we will remove the rule we placed under the Hide Events for these countries parameter to get back the Canadian news on the ES chart. Up until now, we have been using the chart to manually inspect and validate that the news visible aligns with the rules we've applied. To streamline this process, we can activate a parameter called Print All News Events Visible on the Chart on the NinjaScript output. This feature will automatically list all news events visible on the chart in the NinjaScript output window. Using this function is a highly efficient method to ensure that the rules we've implemented are delivering the expected outcomes. We will click the OK button to apply the change we made and close this properties window. Next, to open the NinjaScript output window, go to the NinjaTrader Control Center, click on New in the menu bar, and select NinjaScript Output. Let's rearrange the layout to view the NinjaScript Output window alongside the chart window. This will allow us to analyze the data more effectively. Since we opened the NinjaScript Output window after the indicator was already loaded, we need to refresh the indicator on the chart. To do this, press F5 or right-click on the chart window and select Reload NinjaScript. The chart is configured to display 100 days of historical data, so starting from January 24th. As you can see, all news visible on the chart are listed in the NinjaScript output. From there, you can easily search for specific news by pressing Ctrl F or by right-clicking and selecting Find from the context menu. You will find that all news containing BOC in their title are listed and therefore visible on the chart. Another application could be to exclusively list specific news events like FOMC for analysis, which can help refine a trading plan or develop a new strategy. To do this, we'll return to the Indicator Properties window. To display only the FOMC news events, we will adjust the parameters Show Events for these titles and Hide Events for these titles, along with the Titles Show Hide Order parameter. First, we will hide all news titles for the ES instrument. Next, we'll apply a filter to display only news titles that contain FOMC for the ES instrument. Finally, we will adjust the Titles Show Hide Order parameter to Hide First, Show After. This ensures that all news titles are initially hidden, and then only the FOMC news titles are displayed. We will click the OK button to apply the change we made and close this Properties window. As you can see in the NinjaScript output window, only the news events with FOMC in their title are now listed and thus visible on the chart. We will now return to the Indicator Properties window to review additional parameters. Under the Setup section, we suggest to keep the Calculate parameter to on-bar close to minimize the CPU usage. In the Visual section, ensure the Auto Scale parameter is set to inactive. If activated, this setting compresses the chart bars because the indicator outputs values ranging from 0 to 1. Consequently, when Auto Scale is on, the vertical scale adjusts from 0 to the highest price displayed on the chart, as you can observe. Also under the Visual section, the panel parameter is set to same as input series by default. If you are using another indicator and you would like to get the news dot in a different panel, then you can make the adjustment here. So let's add the volume indicator to our chart. We will click Apply to see it appears in a new chart panel under the main instrument panel. Notice the panel parameter value for this volume indicator is 2. By changing the panel parameter to 2 in the news events indicator, the news dots will now appear at the bottom of the volume indicator. We will remove the volume indicator and reset the panel parameter to same as input series for the news events indicator. There is another parameter that lets you adjust how the news indicator name is displayed in the top left corner of the chart. This parameter allows you to shorten the indicator name to reduce clutter on your chart. If the news description box does not appear when you click on the news dot, you can activate the Click Debug parameter to investigate the issue. Ensure that a NinjaScript output window is open and visible along with the chart. Once activated, you will see a Click Debug event highlighted in black. This event will always be displayed on your chart at midnight of the current day. You can click on the black dot to reveal its drawn coordinates versus the coordinates where you clicked on the chart. Please take a screenshot of your screen and send it to us by email so we can diagnose the issue. Thank you for watching this in-depth guide on the Economic Calendar News Events Indicator for NinjaTrader 8. We hope this video has provided you with valuable insights into how to effectively use this powerful tool to enhance your trading precision and efficiency. You can find a link to the product webpage in the video description. Thanks again for watching and happy trading!